All right, so we will go ahead and jump in here. First up on your screen, first of all, thank you for hopping on the live stream tonight. Feel free to share this as much as you would like, so that we can keep everyone informed, not just those that are watching this live. I'm also recording this, so this will be posted to YouTube after the fact, so you can go back and watch this as well. Also, if you have any questions throughout the live stream, go ahead and put those in the chat or in the comments section, and I will answer those as we go throughout the video, throughout the live stream tonight. So let's dive on in, shall we? Up on the screen is the National Weather Service hazards map right now. It is it's showing, as I had a video out this afternoon. Everyone in the entire viewing area is under a winter storm watch. This stretches all the way back into Kansas, clear through much of Indiana and into Kentucky. So this is obviously a big high impact system, and there are the main timing for this is about midnight Saturday night or Sunday morning, however you want to think of that. Midnight Sunday morning until around midday on Monday. That's kind of our big timing that we're looking for this. That's when this watch is issued for. Now, most likely it will get upgraded either to a winter storm warning or an ice storm warning, depending upon where you're at. We should see those upgrades probably Saturday morning would be my guess, when we should start to see those upgrades. So just kind of preview that for you. We talked about the winter storm watch, and I mentioned this in my video this morning or this afternoon, but it's really interesting to read the actual read the wording from the National Weather Service. So we're going to dig in here just a second, if you'll oblige me, and dig into the wording of this. So this is the wording from the National Weather Service office in Lincoln. This covers everyone north of Route 50, along and north of Route 50. And they are calling for heavy snow of at least 6 inches is likely, greater than a 60% chance with that, and a narrow band of accumulating flat ice, that's just ice on the roadways and ice on flat surfaces, of at least 1/10 of an inch is possible, potentially greater than that, but at least a 40% chance of at least 1/10 of an inch. And then blustery north winds that'll occasionally gust north of 30 miles an hour, leading to some blowing and drifting snow across east-west roadways, as well as sporadic power outages. So that's pretty significant wording, really, from the National Weather Service. And they also note at the bottom, persons should consider delaying all travel. If travel is absolutely necessary, drive with extreme caution. Consider taking a winter storm kit along with you, including all those items that it lists there that'll help you in case you get stranded. So, we're not messing around with this winter storm for sure, at least in the eyes of the National Weather Service out of Lincoln. Here's the other one. This is out of Paducah, Kentucky. This covers everyone south of Route 50. So Wayne, Edwards, Wabash counties specifically, but the wording is interesting as well with it. Heavy mixed precipitation possible. Total snow and sleet accumulations of 4 inches or more, with ice accumulations of 1/4 of an inch or more are possible. So we're looking at an ice storm, full-on ice storm south of Route 50, more closer to that I-64 corridor, and a little bit points south will be the heaviest ice totals, I think. But we're looking, the further south you go, the more ice we're talking about here, and the models have kind of been trending pretty consistently with that throughout the rest of today. We've seen pretty consistent ice signatures for southern Illinois out of this. And, the Paducah office also says power outages and tree damage is possible due to ice. Travel could be nearly impossible at times. Hazardous travel will impact the Monday morning commute. So Basically, if you can stay off the roadways at any point, especially Sunday afternoon through Monday morning at the very least, it's probably in your safest interest to do so there. So before we dig too far into this, I want to explain the difference between rain and freezing rain and sleet and snow and all those fun weather words, because this is what throws a wrench into forecasting winter weather. So on the far right, you see we've got snow over here. That is when the air from all the way up in the atmosphere down to the surface is all cold. There is no warm pockets at all anywhere in between this, which leads to all snow. When you get over to sleet, there is a little bit of freezing rain, or there's a little bit of rain that falls because of some warmer air aloft. Now, this warmer air is a really shallow layer of warm air, so the precipitation initially falls as rain, changes over to ice pellets as it falls further to the ground. And notice this, it refreezes into sleet before it hits the ground. That's important. When we look at freezing rain, the difference between freezing rain and sleet is because there's a much larger column of warm air higher up in the atmosphere. This leads to it falling almost completely in a liquid form until it hits the ground and then freezes on contact. That's what makes freezing rain so much of a, pain to deal with, basically, in the winter. And then finally, on the far left, you see rain. That's warm air top to bottom, falls completely as liquid. So there's kind of the breakdown of this. One other thing I will note, forecast models sometimes have a really hard time seeing how deep this column of warm air will be in the atmosphere, and really we won't know necessarily how deep it will be for another about 24 hours for sure, because of this storm not quite being on landfall yet, or not quite having made landfall yet on the west coast. So all things to consider when we look at these next model runs. Okay, so there is that. Next, what I want to show you is air temperatures for the day on Sunday, as this snow, or as this precipitation rather, is falling, and this will kind of show you the warm air that I'm talking about here. These are ground temperatures for Sunday afternoon, about 3-4 o'clock. Notice temperatures at the surface are somewhere in the mid-20s, 24, 25, 26, somewhere in that realm. But if we go about 5,000 feet up in the atmosphere, this reads out in Celsius. Basically anything above 0 in Celsius standards is above 32 degrees or above freezing. That's the warm air pocket. So notice anywhere basically along and south of a line, say from Effingham over to Newton and over to Robinson Point south, there's going to be a warm column of air that is over our heads that's going to cause that wintry mix that everyone and their dog's been talking about the last couple days, including myself. So that's what you're going to see in the models. That's why you're seeing what you're going to see. Okay, got that out of the way. Let's talk some forecast models, and I'll show you a bunch of different runs of what this system could look like. So first up is the GFS. This is the long-range American model. And what we see on this, we're going to pick all these up at midnight Sunday night, right when the winter storm watch or whatever warning we're given will start. So notice, for much of the area, it could start as some snow. By daybreak on Sunday morning, this is 7 a.m. as you're getting ready to head out for any church or worship services, we may start out as some snow across the area, maybe some wintry mix off to the south. And any purple that you see in this is wintry mix. Red is your freezing rain. Snow is going to be in the blue, the dark blues, or this kind of magenta color. So there's kind of how to read the map. Again, 7 a.m., we start off seeing some snow, maybe starting to creep in with the potential for some sleet or freezing rain working its way in. As we go later on into the day, notice that sleet kind of stays confined south of I-70 with some heavy snow bands up to the north, freezing rain if you're along that Route 50 corridor, And as we go later on into the evening hours, here's now midnight, Sunday night into Monday morning. This is when we think things will start to transition over to all snow. And as we go later on into the overnight hours, there's that snow coming in as kind of background, wraparound moisture. It'll be all pretty well moved out by noon on Monday. So that's kind of the parameters. That's the time frame we're looking at here is Sunday midnight, early in the morning, to Monday about noon. Here's another run. This is the European model. This one has been a little bit more consistent for the last several days on what snow or what precip we could be looking at here. So here we go, European model. As we go into the day, there's the snow working its way in by noontime. We've got sleet and freezing rain working in along Route 50 and points south. All snow north of I-70. By the evening hours, we've got sleet and freezing rain, split north and south. And then by midnight, here's the snow working its way in. It moves out again by about noon on Monday. Let's look at another one. Here's the Canadian. Notice, pretty well the same picture. By daybreak on Sunday, there comes the snow, starting out across the area, transitions over to sleet and freezing rain south of Route 50. And then as we go towards the noontime hour, here comes the sleet all the way up to basically I-70 before it transitions over to snow for your day on Monday, moves out of here by about noon on Monday. So you get the picture. Sleet and freezing rain potential for everyone south of I-70, really up until probably the early evening hours Sunday night. Before that, it'll transition to all snow by midnight Sunday night into Monday morning, and then we'll be left over with some snow showers on Monday. So those are all the long-range models. I don't see a lot of high-resolution, in-depth data. What we've kind of been waiting for to make these snowfall forecasts and make these long-range predictions is these mid-range models and these kind of higher resolution models. So that's why the forecasts are going to get a lot more defined and a lot more in-depth here in the next 24 hours for sure. And you'll see why I say that here in just a second. Here's the NAM, the North American model. Notice a little bit higher resolution. We'll pick this up at midnight Sunday night. Here comes the snow early Sunday morning, about 6 to 7 o'clock. That'll transition over to some sleet and freezing rain south of Route 33, or really south of I-70, before we see some snow work its way in on the backside of it. And just one more for you. If you'll humor me, this is the Canadian high-resolution model, or the RDPS. Again, picking it up at midnight. Here's the snow about 6 to 7 a.m. Sunday morning. Before we transition over to some sleet and freezing rain. It wants to keep the storm system just a little bit further south than the other model runs, or than the other forecast models, rather. And keeps the snow a little bit further to the north before, and this model only goes out to midnight Sunday night into Monday morning, but you see starting to transition over to some snow on the backside, and it'll be all snow as it moves out of the way Sunday or Monday morning. Now, one other thing before we talk about snow totals and ice totals and all that fun jazz. This storm system still hasn't fully come on shore yet. So we don't have as clear of a picture as we would like to have to really have some refined, in-depth snow totals that I would feel good about putting out. And the reason being is because this low pressure system right here, as it tracks northeastward, it's going to land somewhere in western Kentucky, northern Tennessee. That's kind of what we can expect for this low pressure system. Now, the problem is a 50-mile change in any point, basically whether it rides in northern Kentucky along the Ohio River or whether it rides in southern Kentucky closer to the Kentucky-Tennessee state line, that's going to really determine for our neck of the woods whether or not we see sleet and freezing rain and higher ice totals, or whether we see higher snow totals, and the snow overall shifts a little bit further south. So that being said, we do, again, anticipate this to be a high impact storm. We know we're all going to get something. It's just a matter of what precip type we're going to get and for how long. So there's that soapbox. But within the next 24 hours, this will come into a much clearer focus, and we'll feel really good about, you'll see a lot more people putting out snow totals. What I can show you right now is what the National Weather Service has publicized based on these winter storm watches that they've put out already. So this is their preliminary early forecasts for snowfall totals. This is the entire state, as you can see. And, you know, it's forecasting, or the National Weather Service, rather, is forecasting a really heavy snow band across much of central Illinois. This would include our northern counties, basically Route 33 and northward. Anywhere in the 10 to 12 inch range, maybe a little bit higher than that even. Notice Effingham, it calls for somewhere in the realm of 10 to 15 inches of snow. Mattoon, it was calling for something similar in the 10 to 15 inch range. I think these totals are just a little high. I'm showing you them because this is what the National Weather Service has used to make their forecasts for their winter storm watches. But again, I think those are good. I think those totals are just a little high. But that's where the heaviest axis of snow will be. Now, that's not to say everyone south of I-70 isn't going to get snow. You know, according to the National Weather Service, Route 50 and points south, we're still looking at anywhere from 8 to 10, maybe 11 inches of snow. That's not any, you know, that's not a amount of snow to just write off. You know, that's still a substantial amount of snow. Where we're going to see that cutoff is when we start talking about the ice totals. So, according to the National Weather Service right now, their ice forecast for the area has everyone basically along and south of Route 50 and somewhere above 1/4 inch of ice. It was calling, I believe earlier, it had the only area listed at 1/4 inch of ice. Could those totals verify? Absolutely. The storm, there is going to be somewhere between 1/4 and 1/2 inch ice for someone in southern Illinois. Now, whether that heaviest ice axis is along Route 50 down to about I-64, or whether the ice axis is a little bit further south, say from I-64 down into the Carbondale-Marion area, that's what remains to be seen. That's why the track of this low pressure is so critically important to this forecast. So this is the ice storm, or this is the ice forecast from the National Weather Service. These numbers will change, and I'll have a video out tomorrow looking at the new updated numbers if anything's changed from the National Weather Service, and also kind of starting to talk about my preliminary numbers. Again, I think these numbers are going to fluctuate just a little bit, but know that if you're along and south of I-70, you have a pretty good shot of seeing at least a little bit of ice out of this storm system, and then add on to that several inches of snow that'll mix in with that. So just know that that's coming. Something I don't want to brush off or forget it to talk about on this is the really cold temperatures that are going to be sticking around after this storm system is already done. So these are forecast high temperatures for the next basically week as we go into your first full week of January. Forecast high temperatures on Tuesday are going to be in the low to mid 20s across the area. Wednesday, we get a little bit colder, highs in the mid to upper teens. And then Thursday, much of the same picture, maybe just a hair cooler than that. Highs really in the mid teens for that. Now, lows, those nights, lows Thursday night, we're looking, potentially, these are air temperatures, potentially down, below -10. That could be slightly extreme, but not by that much. And with a wind chill value, pushing even lower than that, the GFS is suggesting maybe into the, 20 below range for much of the area as we get into wind chill values Thursday night. What I can tell you with these temperatures is they will be exaggerated some if we get a snowpack on the ground. And most of you that have been around for Southern Illinois snow events know that if we get a couple inches of snow on the ground, that is only going to help expand this cold air and help really lock in the cold air across the area. So the more snow you get, probably the little bit cooler temperatures you're going to get later on next week, and that's where you see some of the really colder air is situated just off to our north of I-70 up to about I-72, and points just a little bit further north of that. That's where they're expecting the heavy snow totals. Thus, that's where we see some of the cooler temps with that. So it is going to be cold after this snow is done. So hopefully we don't see too many power outages out of this, or if we do, those power outages can be remedied pretty quick, because it is going to be chilly as we go into this first full work week of 2025. So here's kind of a wrap up graphic that I made of kind of an information summary. Overall, I think timing-wise, we're looking somewhere between, we're looking for things to start Sunday morning, somewhere in the 6 to 7 a.m. time frame. That'll last until midday on Monday, which is the duration of the winter storm watch right now. Accumulations are still too early to call. I will have a snowfall and ice forecast out tomorrow evening. I just don't feel comfortable putting out my own numbers until we see some of those higher resolution models. And as I've told several people who have messaged me throughout the day, asking about snow and ice and when's stuff going to happen and all that. My goal with all of this is to be accurate for our area. I don't want to be the first one out with numbers. I don't want to be the most extreme with the numbers if it doesn't warrant it. I want to make sure our area is accurate, and the numbers that I'm putting out is something that I will back. So, you will get numbers out, but you're not going to see that before probably tomorrow afternoon or evening at the earliest. Impacts with this. We're looking at significant impacts any way you cut the pie. Travel, I would definitely not advise it Sunday through probably Monday. Let the road crews get out there and work. And again, extreme cold very likely next week. So last up, I'll show you this. This is going to be our snowfall, snowcast and ice forecast graphics, but just to kind of illustrate this for you. Anyone along and south of I-70, I think, is definitely looking for snow with some ice mixed in. Could be some significant icing the further south you go. Just depends on that track of the low, like I've talked about before. North of I-70, we're looking at some pretty heavy snow, potentially in the realm of 6 inches plus for that. So that's kind of what we see overall with this storm system. Again, if you have any questions, throw them into the comments. I'm happy to answer any questions here for the next couple minutes, for sure. We'll put it back up to this graphic. I appreciate everyone with the well wishes and the thank yous. So that's my. I appreciate everyone thanking me for it. That's what I'm here for. I try to share what information I have and share the expertise I have. All right, again, and just as a summary, storm time will start somewhere in the 6 to 7 a.m. time range, go till Monday at midday. Snow totals could be significant for everyone across the area. Definitely the further north you go, the higher the snow totals we're looking at. Further to the south, icing could be significant. Just depends on the Depends on the exact track of the low. McKinsey asks, does it look like there'll be a lot of wind with the system? There will be some wind to deal with. That's why a lot of the National Weather Service wording has some power outages, and I can show you that here on one of these model runs. So behind the low pressure system, as it kind of tracks off to our east, anytime you see these black lines on any of these weather graphics, those are what we call isobars, or lines of equal pressure. And the closer they are, the higher the winds are around, in that area. So we could see wind gusts somewhere in the 20 to 30 mile an hour range, especially Sunday evening as the low begins to track off to our east, which is, not exactly conducive if there's a lot of ice hanging around. That's why we're kind of worried about power outages in further south as we go, wherever this ice storm does end up landing. But we're not looking at blizzard conditions. Winds won't quite be strong enough for that, but we will have some wind to deal with Sunday afternoon and evening as we go early into Monday morning. So hopefully that answers your question. All right, so with that, I will probably go ahead and wrap up this live stream. Again, you can catch a replay of this on the Facebook page, and I will also post it on YouTube, so you can go back and watch there. Make sure to share this video, so we can get the information out and get the word out about this storm coming in. If you need to run and get any groceries, I'd be doing that as soon as you can. I was in Flora Walmart this afternoon, and the bread and the milk sections looked pretty bare. So make sure to get out and get those groceries. Do that before Sunday, of course, but make sure you get out and get those if you need anything. No need to hoard anything for long periods of time, but get out, and if you need anything, get out and get it. Watch for more updates tomorrow as we get closer to the system, and then I'll probably do another video tomorrow night with snowfall forecasts and ice forecasts. So thank you everyone for jumping on the live stream tonight. Feel free to share this video and encourage people to like and follow the page as we go closer to this event.